Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I just want to first thank ICNA Youth for inviting me, alhamdulillah, for being a part of this program, and especially for having this special session that is dedicated toward our young people, and that's meant to address the needs, our personal needs and the needs of our community. So without further ado, the topic I've been asked to address is called the Army of the Believers. And so the armor of the believers. And so when we're talking about the armor of the believer, I actually want to start to talk about the believer. What is it first that is the basis of that? As we know, the basis of the mu'mineen, the basis of that is iman. And so iman comes from amana, which means to have trust. So the first thing is that the first armor of the believer is that we have to recognize that in the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to recognize that in order to have strong iman, I have to have a relationship with Allah. And where is the seat of iman? Where is the seat of trust? Where is the seat of belief? The seat of that belief is in the heart. And so in order to protect the heart, we're going to look at the heart as an ocean. And the ocean has 7 rivers: the eyes, the ears, the mouth, the hands, your private parts, and your feet. So when we look at how are we going to protect and make sure that the ocean of the heart is clean, we have to make sure that the channels that are flowing into that ocean, the rivers that are flowing into the ocean of the heart, first we've got to make sure that they're free from impurities. So we've got to make sure that what we're watching is that which is beneficial. That which we are giving our attention to is beneficial. We have to make sure that we're not watching anything that will be a corruption for us, that will remove our fitrah. As Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, when he talked about that, the first look is excused, but that second one is from shaitan. And so many of us, when we see someone beautiful or attractive, right? We take a long look. And subhanAllah, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, he said that when you're taking that long look, trying not to blink, that shaitan is removing the iman from your heart through your eye like this. And so we have to be very careful to lower our gaze and guard our modesty. Then, not only that, many things that we're watching on television will actually bring us to a level of despair and hopelessness. And that we also must guard our hearts against this. We must guard our hearts against that which will constantly traumatize us and make us begin to feel weak, make us begin to feel like there's no hope for us, that there's no chance that the Muslims would be victorious. We have to guard our hearts against that. The next matter is what we listen to, that which travels through our ears. Now the origins, since we're in a young crowd, the origins of hip-hop was actually from Muslims. Back in the day when hip-hop was in its beginning phase, it was something that was actually a message by which Muslims would kind of bring consciousness to the crowd. As a matter of fact, this is just a little hip-hop trivia. As a matter of fact, that if you came to the stage and you were, about to deliver a spoken word, or you were about to, drop some lines on them, you had to make sure that that message was positive, because they would actually be Muslim security who would stand at the edge of the stage and they would beat you up if you spoke ill and put poison in the hearts of people. That was the origin of hip hop. Now, since that time, I'm sure you're fully and well aware how they have used that medium in order to turn it. They have used materialism and status in order to move people away from that, because that's actually how thousands of people converted to Islam. If you even listen to Suhaib Webb and some of his origins, you will find one like Imam Suhaib Webb, and you will find plenty of other people who actually came to Islam first being introduced through hip-hop. But now it's very different. Now it would actually take you far away from Islam. Most of it would pretty much attach your heart to smoking weed, hanging in a club, gun violence, and a whole lot of other things. And that in and of itself will attach you to a culture, will attach you to a certain type of subculture, would attach you to a certain type of thinking and lifestyle that would actually be a corruption of the heart. And I only use hip hop because of its transformation. It's not just hip hop. There's actually so many other forms of music, so many other forms of entertainment, and not just music and entertainment. It's also many times our conversations, the people that we'll choose to listen to. That also becomes many times a filth that enters into the river of our ears, into the ocean of our heart. Then next, of course, our mouths. For that which you put into it. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this because I know for young people this is a difficult one. But you know, they used to have this cartoon that would come on, like those little shorts they have in between Saturday morning cartoons. Now cartoons are like all the time, so that just tells you how old I am. But in between these little shorts, they would always talk about like you are what you eat. And they'd have these little info cartoons that would come on and dance around and talk about you are what you eat to try to encourage you to eat healthy. So, and that's a really true statement in terms of you are what you eat. Now, if we were to think about that in terms of just, we already know that if you eat too much sugar, you're going to crash. Right? If you eat a lot of bad food, you're going to be weak and lazy. It's going to play out on your body. So it is important that you eat not only halal, that's a whole nother matter, but also that which is tayyib, that which is going to benefit you, that which is going to be good for you. But in addition to that, beyond that, because you're young, you need to be careful about making sure, doing everything you can to make sure there's no khamr in your body, to make sure that there's no intoxicants that you're introducing into your body. And when I'm talking about those intoxicants, of course, we're absolutely talking about alcohol, but also we're talking about the new trend, right? Where basically people are trying to tell us that marijuana, you know, you're not sick, you don't have cancer, but it's medicinal because I have a lot of anxiety, or it's medicinal because, I'm really energetic and it calms me down. We have to be extremely careful against guarding ourselves, bringing marijuana and weed into our body, because that also comes through the lips. And this will definitely change our condition. It will weaken our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then, of course, with your hands. You've got to make sure, I know it's difficult, I know the struggle is real, especially in America. You've got to make sure that you're keeping a level of distance so your hands don't fall where they don't need to be. Where your hands don't fall where you haven't given a dowry for. Where your hands don't fall where you have written a contract for. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. I know I'm trying to use some clean language here. Basically, as Allah reminds us in the Quran, do not go near fornication. Do not go near it. And how did it begin? Of course, it began with the look. Of course, it began with the eye. And then next, of course, it began with the mouth, right? After the eye, after you gave the eye, he gave the eye, you both knew you were interested. Then it followed up with a conversation. Then it followed up with your hands. How? First it was just, can I get your number? Then it was, now we're texting. And now next thing you know, there's all kinds of, I'm trying to, there's all kinds of interactions and conversations that are going on that definitely if someone else were part of that conversation, without a shadow of a doubt, it's questionable. So first we were texting at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon at lunchtime. Now it's 12 a.m. And something else, as the darkness came upon the earth, also a darkness came upon the room and a darkness sunk into the hearts. And now that texting is not as clean as it was in the earlier parts of the day. So next, of course, that's followed up by the hookup. And so that hookup, of course, there are hands involved in all types of ways, and you can use, please don't use your imagination. Please don't follow that. So I'm saying, do not go near fornication. لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. Do not follow the footsteps of shaitan, for verily he is to you an avowed enemy. Then you're going to, of course, that which is in your stomach, right? That which you have ingested. And when I'm talking about ingesting, we've already talked about food and khamr and weed. We're also talking about other people's flesh, right? Another type of ingesting. As Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam reminded us that the ghiba and namima will actually cause you to be weak for ibadah. The next one is where your feet travel. Where your feet taking you. If you find yourself, subhanallah, spending less time in good company, less time in the masjid, less time in wherever young Muslims are gathering, or wherever there's righteousness, where the angels will be happy to be present, when those gatherings where the angels are making dua for you and you're going to leave those places with all of your sins forgiven bi-idhnillah, then you need to be careful about that. You have to be careful about where you're spending your time. Because without a shadow of a doubt, where you're spending your time is definitely going to affect the ocean of your heart. And what's the significance of your heart? Is this just a matter of emotion? Absolutely not. That your heart is your connection to Allah. Amana billahi. Right? That this heart, this is how you connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I want to tell you the armor of the believers, first is you've got to guard those 7 rivers to the ocean of your heart. And then to follow up on some of those matters, you've got to make sure that you have good suhbah. You've got to make sure that you have good companionship. People who are reminding you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People, when you have good friends, they will check you. They will pull your coattail in a loving way, right? In a manner that says, I'm not judging you, but I have a deep love and concern for you. And I want to make sure that I see you in Jannah. I want to make sure that we're crossing the sirat with Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam together. I want to make sure that you don't fall prey to this dunya. This is the armor of the believer. Because if you don't have good companionship, even if you're trying to say, I don't have good friends, or I don't have Muslim family, or I don't have anyone in my family that's practicing. When you're by yourself, it's easy to break you off. It's easy to bend you. It's easy for you to fall out of the fold. It's easy for you to go astray. So you've got to find good friends. You've got to, not just when you're here at ICNA and beyond, you've got to find good companionship that you travel together, and you've got to guard that sisterhood. You've got to guard that brotherhood, right? Because subhanAllah, we need each other. We need to it's not just about pulling each other's coattail, but give me good company, because that is a protection against where I could be, or what I could be doing on a Friday night or a Saturday night. And lastly, the armor of the believer, as Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam reminded us, is dua. You have got to talk to Allah ta'ala. You have got to have that connection. And it can't just be the dua that you read in a book. It has to be the kind of dua that is deep from your heart. It has to be the kind of dua that you're pouring out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you're begging for His assistance and His help, by which you're speaking to Him knowing that He's closer to you than your jugular vein, where there is no pretense between you and Allah. Yes, you're going to do it with adab, but you're not going to do it in a manner that you're going to feel this distance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the armor of the believer. These are the things that are going to protect you. Protect you from what? Of course, from the ills of this society. Absolutely. Yes, of course. Everyone knows that. From the waswas of shaitan. Because where does he whisper? Where does he whisper? Fi suduri nas. He whispers into the heart. He whispers to where your iman is. And he says, where is the chink in your armor? Where is the deficiency in your protection? And he speaks to that. And he keeps dropping a seed into it until eventually it is covered in darkness. So you've got to guard your heart against, yes, the whispers of shaitan. but also you've got to guard yourself against hopelessness and despair. This is, I've said this weekend, and it's something I've been repeating a lot lately, is that the root of Iblis comes from balasa, which means to be hopeless. And the suicide rate amongst our young people, not just in the world, not just in America, but amongst Muslim youth. And not just suicide, the amount of cutting, the amount of self-harm, the amount of trying to self-diagnose and self-treat certain sicknesses and illnesses in the heart. This is because we have lost hope. This is because we feel like, Ya Allah, where are you? Ya Allah, you see what I'm suffering. You see what I'm going through. You see what's happening to my family. You see what's happening in terms of the Muslim Ummah. You see what's happening, whether it be all the way in Syria or whether or not it's in our backyard, happening to black Muslim men and women. Ya Allah, help. Sometimes it's just the basic discord that's happening between us that leads us down the path of hopelessness. But this hopelessness, it's different to that if you have a sadness. It's different where you're saying, Ya Allah, I'm hurt by this. Ya Allah, help me. Ya Allah, I want us to understand that Yaqub alayhi salam, he had sickness, he had sadness. So much to the point that there was a cataract over his eyes. And some say he went blind. Because he was so sad from missing his son. So I don't want us to be confused that sadness, that you cannot be sad as a Muslim. Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, he had a year of sorrow from the loss that he suffered. From the fact that the believers were in such a low state, that the believers were in such a position of boycott and being left behind. He had a deep sadness. He had a deep sadness when he lost his uncle. He had a deep sadness when he lost his wife. So we as believers, we as Muslims, we suffer sadness. It is not outside of this deen to feel sad. But what we have to guard our hearts against is hopelessness and despair. That's different. That's when you believe that Allah will not come to my rescue. Allah has left me. He will not come to my aid. This is when you've I can't even face Allah. When you stop making salah. This is what you have to protect your heart against. Despair. And how are you going to do it? You're going to keep running to Allah. Even when you fall down and you're in sin and you feel like, why do I keep messing up? Why do I keep falling to this sin? Why do I keep going and visiting and seeing her in private or him in private? Why is it that I keep smoking weed? Why is it that I keep going to this gathering and drinking? Why? It just keep coming to Allah loves those who keep coming back to Him. Allah loves the tawa'ibin. And He says, I will forgive you as long as you keep coming back to me. I will forgive you. So we have to keep going back to those hopes and those promises that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made, so that we don't fall into this despair. So again, the weapon, the armor, the protection of the believer, guard your heart, because that is the place by which you connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're going to have a little practice of it right now, bi'idhnillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم برحمتك آتنا إيمان كاملا ويقين صادقا ورزقا واسعا ولسان ذاكرا وقلبا سليما وقلبا خاشعا وتوبة نصوحا وتوبة قبل الموت وشهادة عند الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت وعفوا عند الحساب وأمانا من العذاب ونصيب من الجنة فردوس الأعلى وأرزقنا النظر إلى وجهك الكريم. Ya Allah, give us a complete and perfect faith after which there is no disbelief. Give us a complete and perfect certainty in you after which there is no doubt or hypocrisy. Ya Allah, I ask that you give me the kind of iman and taqwa that will keep me firm upon sirat al-mustaqim. Ya Rabbi, if anyone in this audience, Ya Rabbi, is suffering from any type of addiction, Ya Allah, stand between them and their addiction. Give them the iman and the taqwa and the strength, Ya Allah, to walk away from from that addiction and remove the desire and the craving from inside them, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, if anyone in this gathering, Ya Allah, is in a relationship, in a haram relationship, Ya Rabbi, grant them that which is halal. Grant them that by which they can connect, Ya Rabbi, in a halal way, Ya Allah. Open up the doors of marriage for them. Ya Rabbi, if there's anyone in this gathering, Ya Rabbi, that are suffering in their families, they're fighting, Ya Rabbi, between parents and child, Ya Allah, heal the relationship, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, bless the parents to be more understanding of their youth, and bless the youth to be more understanding of their parents. Bless them to have an acceptance of each other, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, I ask you by your mercy, where our sisterhood and our brotherhood has fallen short, Ya Rabbi, give us the qualities and the skills and the realness and the character to be gentle with each other, Ya Rabbi, to be loving toward each other, that we may strengthen each other in this deen and never tear each other down, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, I ask that you remove us from our sadness. We seek refuge in you from sadness and despair and from grief. We seek refuge in you from lack of strength and laziness, from being a coward and from being a thug. We seek refuge in you, Ya Allah, from being stingy. We seek refuge in you, Ya Allah, from the oppression of men and being overpowered by debt. Those, Ya Allah, that are in this room that have a great amount of student debt, Ya Ghani, Ya Mughni, bless them to pay it, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, grant them an abundance from you, Ya Arhamur Rahimin. Ya Rabbi, those of us Muslims and non-Muslims, Ya Rabbi, that are oppressed, Ya Rabbi, we ask that you change the heart of the oppressor, because you can do that. Because la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you remove the hand of the oppressor from this community far, Ya Rabbi, as the east is from the west. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you push him back from us, and that you protect us and our entire lineage, Ya Rabbi, from his destruction, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you undo his plots and undo his plan and discredit his position, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you free our political prisoners, Ya Arhamur Rahimin. Ya Rabbi, we ask that our prisoners, Ya Rabbi, that are locked up, that are wrong, Ya Rabbi, we ask that you give them a second chance and bless them to come back to their communities and be embraced and accepted, and they may be of benefit to their community, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you help our youth. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you help our youth. Strengthen them in Iman. Ya Rabbi, envelop them in your love and your kindness, and build a fortress of protection around them, Ya Allah. Ya Rabbi, have mercy on us when the angel of death comes to take our soul, Ya Arhamur Rahimin. Ya Rabbi, have mercy on us when they lower us into the ground. Ya Rabbi, have mercy on us when the angels descend. Ya Rabbi, have mercy on us on the day you resurrect us. Bless us to stand under the flag of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam. Ya Rabbi, I ask that you give us the courage to live a life of bravery. Ya Rabbi, to live a life of La ilaha illallah. Ya Rabbi, I ask that you give us the courage to live a life that to stand and to represent this deen. Ya Rabbi, bless us to take a drink from the blessed hand of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam at the hold. Ya Rabbi, bless us. Ya Rabbi, that you have mercy on us when we stand in front of you at the mizan and you weigh our deeds. Ya Rabbi, we ask that you bless us to cross the sirat with Sayyidina Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam and Fatima Zahra. Bless us to enter into Jannatul Firdaus al-Ala, Ya Rabbi, by your tawfiq and your rahmah. Ya Rabbi, I ask that you bless all of those who are suffering from any type of illness. Ya Rabbi, that you heal us. Remove us from speech and character that take us away from you, and grant us speech and character that will bring us near and close to you. Mold and shape us into the believers that you love. Number us amongst those whom you have favored, have guided, and kept firm upon Sirat al-Mustaqim. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma ameen. Afwan minkum. Assalamu alaikum.